Hello everyone, I am René and today I bring you a game review for the Revenant Prince, an RPG game with a soul from Nomina games. I want to mention that I stream on Twitch every other day. We have a lot of fun and play all kinds of games, so feel free to drop by. Also, all important links are in the description of this video. Okay, here we go. In the Revenant Prince, we step into the shoes of Troy, who lives in a fantastic world where magic exists and fantastic beings like talking rocks are normal. This world is not peaceful at all, and humans fight for its territories all the time, and the Lumerian Empire seeks to control it. At the beginning of the game, we learn that Troy and his sister Gabriella are part of the Lumerian Purge army, and in his first day, something happens that makes him question the real motives of the Empire, which very quickly gets him in trouble. I won't get into spoilers, but Troy soon finds himself in a life and death situation, and at that moment a mysterious entity comes to him and grants him tremendous powers, but Troy does not realize at what cost they come. And that's how our game starts. The Revenant Prince is a top-down RPG made in RPG Maker MB, in which the lore is extensive, the characters have personality, and a mystery drives the story. We spend a good amount of time learning about the world, the struggles of the people that live in it, and even chit-chatting with bartenders and store owners, while trying to understand what happened on that day and about the mysterious individual that helped us. And this really makes the world feel alive. There were a few times when I really gulped from what had just happened, and some quests really subverted my expectations in a good way, and even made me feel bad for who I consider to be a truly evil character. In terms of mechanics, it uses a few that are familiar for RPG lovers, like doing quests, some of them which are entirely optional, wandering around and fighting enemies at random times, and having boss battles. By the way, you are able to choose how often you want to encounter enemies at any given time, so if you feel like just exploring without being attacked, you can do that. Just be aware that if you forget to turn on the encounters back on, you might find yourself under-leveled on some key battles, just like I did. Troy is pretty much a character set in stone. He has his own words, his own personality, and although we can change his weapons, he is very much a physical warrior at heart. And for the combat, we have an active time battle system, where our enemies can attack every time their attack meter fills, which happens over time. In Troy's case, each of his weapons have their individual cooldown. We can have 3 weapons equipped, with one of them being active at the time. We have a dedicated key binded to switch to each of the 3 weapons, and each weapon has 3 skills, having dedicated keys binded as well, and depending on the skill used, the time it will take for that weapon to be usable again will vary, with skill 1 being the fastest and skill 3 being the slowest, with the exception of shields. Also, each skill used consumes battle points, or BP. They regenerate automatically over time, with each weapon having its own and each skill consuming a different amount of it. In terms of variety, we have our usual suspects: bows, dual-wielded swords, firearms, great swords, scepters, shields, and spears available. For example, you can use the light attack from your dual swords, then switch to a rifle, use the rapid shot from the rifle, then switch to the shield, do a shield bash, and by that time the dual swords will be ready. So you can play around with your weapon sets and find your ideal rotation. One more thing to note is that every time you hit an enemy, you set back their attack bar a little, delaying his time to attack, and with the right combination of skills, you could prevent enemies from attacking altogether. It took me a while to take the full advantage of this system, but once you get the hang of it, it is pretty fun. As mentioned, your skills come from the weapons themselves, but Troy does have a skill on his own, which is to stop time, and while time is stopped, you can also transform to your second form, which gives you access to a very powerful attack for limited amounts of time. One more thing to mention is that RPGs usually have a party system, but the way it is approached here is that our protagonist fights alone, getting assistance from his companions in a striker fashion. Also, when defeating most enemies, you can choose to execute or spare them, although I haven't confirmed if this has an actual impact in the game, other than making me feel really bad for taking down a wolf begging for mercy. As for its progression system, after each combat, Troy can gain experience, diamonds, DL, which is the game currency, and several different items, including equipment. Each level will require certain experience obtained, and once we gain enough experience, we're gonna level up our character, which is gonna bring up our base statistics. On top of that, each piece of equipment will boost specific stats, with weapons giving physical and magical attack as well as agility, and most defensive equipment giving a percentage increase of physical or magical defense. You can upgrade all your pieces of equipment with specific items found in the world to a maximum of 10 times. Upgrading your items will increase the attack boost that they give and also add evasion and critical hit chance. Another way to increase your stats are the sphere grids, which can be used for offensive, defensive or utility purposes, each having a set of spheres that increase stats related to the category selected, and they need to be unlocked using diamonds. Once all the spheres in a grid have been unlocked, you can open a new sphere grid of any category, with the cost of each sphere inside being higher than the previous sphere grid. Also, the more sphere grids are unlocked, the larger the stat increase will be from each sphere. I like this system. It is pretty straightforward and it doesn't require breaking your head to decide what is going to be best for your character. In terms of music, the music in this game is beautiful. It is composed by different artists and all of them do a great job at bringing the right tone to this story of truly epic proportions. The sound effects in general are well done and they will keep you immersed in the story, and the weapons and attack sounds are pretty satisfactory. The art and animations are well realized and every now and then you get some gorgeous stills. Each part of the world feels unique and you can tell that there was love put in every aspect of the design. Another thing I have to mention is the humor in this game. This game has some serious jokes everywhere. Even as part of the game, you will run into joke masters which will give you awful jokes and you can decide if they are good or not, and you can actually get items from that. There are also some fourth wall breaks, there are characters that reminded me a lot of the Arale anime, and there are puns thrown everywhere. I really had a lot of fun with that. This game was pretty enjoyable, but I did find a few things where there are areas of improvement. For example, when buying equipment, you cannot see the statistics of the equipment that you want to buy, and you cannot compare them against the equipment that you already have. I also found that the game can work with a controller, although there are no defined keys for attacking and switching weapons, so you have to use keyboard and mouse for the combat and then you can switch back to the controller for movement. There was also a specific puzzle that I do not want to spoil, but the reason I got stuck in it was due to a difference between the way that the game was presenting me the information and the way that I was supposed to indicate it later in the game, which I believe is unnecessary and can be really frustrating. Overall, this game is fun, entertaining, with an interesting story, and it has a really good price at $9.99 USD. After about 15 hours game time, with plenty of quests still to do, I really recommend picking it up, especially if you are an RPG lover like myself. And also, something very important is that you can pet the dog. That's super important, as we all know. And that's it! I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you have any questions or doubts or are stuck anywhere, I am releasing a full walkthrough of the game with pointers of each section, as well as some side quests that can help you boost your powers and battle strats. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next one.